Now that we know the area of the area of regular figures, we're going to be looking into a little bit deeper and find the area of composite and shaded areas. A composite figure is any figure that's made up of two or more simple figures. Here we know that this is a trapezoid because we talked about that trapezoids could have a triangle on either end or they could just have it on one end. Here I'm going to look at this as a composite figure because I know that I've got a rectangle and a triangle here that I can find the area of. Now, I know that this is a 3 by 2 rectangle, so that's length times width, and I know the length is 3 centimeters times 2 centimeters is going to give me 6 centimeters squared. So this is going to be of the rectangle. Remember, we can put a little rectangle, the area of the rectangle. The area of the triangle, I'll put a little triangle here, is equal to the base times the height. And the height in here, I know if this is 2 centimeters, and remember, it's drawn to scale, all right? It may not be drawn to scale. That means that this 2 looks longer than that 3, but we're going to use the numbers that have been given to us. If this is a rectangle, I know that they have opposite equivalent sides, so this is going to be 2 centimeters. And I know that this rectangle, that's the height. What is this base? Well, if I know that this from here to here, which is here to here, is going to be 3, I've got 5 here, so 5 minus 3 is going to give me only 2 centimeters left. So when I look at my height of 2 centimeters of my triangle and my base of 2 centimeters, I know that it's going to be the base times the height divided by 2 is my area for my triangle. So I'm going to say the base, which is 2, times the height, which is 2, and I'm going to divide that by 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is going to equal to 2 centimeters squared. Well, I've got 6 centimeters squared here and 2 centimeters squared here. If I add the 6 and the 2 together, I know I've got a total of 8 centimeters squared for the total area for my total composite figure. Let's look at some more. I've got one here that looks like a rectangle, and you can look at it as a chunk of it's been cut away, or it's a rectangle that has been added 2 extra ones here. I'm going to add some dotted lines so I can separate out some figures that I know that I can find. And I'm just going to cut those off because I'm going to look at these 2 right here, okay? I want to look at this rectangle and find the area, this rectangle, find the area, and this rectangle to find the area. Well, if I know that this whole thing is 12 centimeters long, okay, I'm going to look at this and say, if this is 4 centimeters long, I can say 12 centimeters, which is the total, minus this 4 centimeters is going to be 8, and that leaves me with whatever these 2 are, a total of 8. I have exactly 2 that are the same length, so 8 divided by 2 is going to be 4 centimeters. So I know these are 4 centimeters. If this is 2 centimeters, I know this is 2 centimeters, okay? And if this is going to be 2 centimeters here, and the total side is 5, I know that this side right here has got to now equal to 3 centimeters, because 2 centimeters plus 3 centimeters will give me a total of the 5 centimeters for the total length of this side. Now, I know that this is 2 centimeters, that's 2 centimeters. If these are going to be directly across each other and the same size, I know this is 2 centimeters, so this also has got to be 2 centimeters because I'm looking at 2 rectangles, and I know their opposite sides will always be equal to each other. So now that I've cut all this down into what it should be, I'm going to cover these top 2 little triangles, and I've got a rectangle here that's going to be 12 by 3. So the first area of the big is going to be a 12 by 3. I know that's length times width. We want to write that down too. So length times width, that's going to equal to 36 centimeters squared. So if you want to, you can always write this 36 centimeters squared. That'll tell you you've already done that one. Let's do one of the small ones. I know I've got a 4 by 2 rectangle, so I've got a 4, I'm going to do small. That's length times width again, so it's going to be a 4 by 2, so 4 times 2 is equal to 8 centimeters squared. And I know that this is going to be 8 centimeters squared in here. And I've got the same actual measurements for this rectangle. So I know that this is going to be 8 centimeters square. So when I add everything up, and I'm just going to bring this 36 down here, I want to find its total measurement. So I'm going to say 8 plus 8 is 16, plus 6 is going to give me 22. Carry my 2. 2 and 3 is going to be 5. So I know that the entire area for the entire composite shape is going to be 52 centimeters squared. Here, I'm going to let you try this one and just turn off the, just pause the video for a minute and then come back and let's work it out and see if we got the same thing. I see here that I've got 2 rectangles if I divide this up evenly. If this is 3 inches, this has got to be 3 inches. So this would be 3 inches. Okay, which means that this here has got to be 2 inches. So I actually have a square even though it looks like a rectangle. Remember, some of these are not drawn to scale. I'm going to look at the big rectangle first, and I know I've got a 3 by 3. This is another square. So I've got the area is going to be side squared because it's a square. And I'm going to put the big one first, and I know that 3 times 3, or 3 squared, is going to equal to 3 times 3, which is 9 inches squared. Then I'm going to look at the small one. I'm going to put the area of a small here, and I know that this is a 2 by 2, which means it's square, so that's going to be side squared, and that's going to be 2 squared is equal to 2 times 2, which is going to be 4 inches squared. When I add the total of the two squares, I know I'm going to have 13 inches squared as my total area. So that entire shape or composite shape is going to be 13 inches squared. All right, let's look at some where you've got shaded regions and they want us to tell the difference in the shaded region. Let's look at first of all, we've done some of these in class, but I want to look at if I know that I can identify 2 shapes in here. I've got one big rectangle and one small rectangle in the middle. So let's find the area of the big rectangle first. So I'm going to find the area of the big rectangle. And that's going to be length times width, which is going to be 8 times 10 or 10 times 8, whichever way you want to put it. It's going to be 80 feet squared. And then I'm going to find the area of the small. And it also is a rectangle because I know I can see it's a rectangle. I've got 8 and 8 by 5 triangle, and that's length times width, which is going to be an 8 times 5. It's going to equal to 40 feet squared. Well, what do? I've got the big rectangle and I've got the small rectangle. Let's look at the small rectangle. It's not shaded. I just want the shaded area of this right here. So if I were to take the whole shaded area and cut out this piece of a rectangle, if I were to take a cookie cutter type thing and punch it in there and take it out, I'm only looking at these. So if I'm taking it out or away, I need to subtract it. So what is 80 minus 40? That's going to give me 40 feet squared. So the shaded area around these 2 rectangles is going to be 40 feet squared. If you want to, go ahead and pause your video and let's see if we can't find this one together, and we'll get together and see if we don't come up with the same answer. If you look at this, I've got a 6 by 6, so this is a square. And I know that the area of a square, okay, is side squared. That means all the sides are equal, okay? So this would be 6 inches and this would be 6 inches, okay? So that's going to be side squared or 6 inches squared, and that's going to equal to 36 inches squared, my total area for the whole rectangle or for the whole square. But I have cut out a triangular piece inside the middle. I know because the length of the whole thing here is 6 inches that my height is going to be 6 inches because it's the same height as the square, the height of the triangle. So I know that the height of the area of a triangle is equal to the base times the height divided by 2, or 1/2 base times height, whichever one you like to use. The base is 6. Remember where this little right angle figure is going to meet. That's going to give you your base and height. So it's going to be 6 times 6 because I've got a base of 6, a height of 6, and then I'm going to divide it in half. So 6 times 6 is 36. Divide that by 2 is going to give me 18 inches squared. Well, I only want these 2 side panels that have been shaded. So if I take the whole area of the square, take out the triangle, then that will leave me with, and I'm going to come over here and put 36 minus 18 is going to give me 18 inches squared for the total of the shaded regions. I hope you enjoyed it. I really do like these. We're going to be doing more in class, and I'll see you then.